Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Breath of Fiction. I'm Dan, also known as JCC Rules, and I'm here with.
This is Sparta
Uh,
9789.
Radicor, otherwise known as Stress as Desserts.
Get snacked,
And
otherwise known as Get snacked, otherwise known as Gajima, bro.
Number one Gajima, bro. Don't leave that the number one.
Number one. Kenya 2024.
she was number one. But yeah, I just had to continue the trend of everyone interrupting you.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Today we're doing Soul Eater mixed with Kimetsu no Yaiba, and I am so hyped for this. Ever since I first had this idea, I've been wanting to talk about it. But there are a lot of mechanics in Soul Eater, so I just want to give a brief overview before we get started to kind of help everyone, including my fellow castmates, just have a better idea of some of what we're dealing with here. In Soul Eater, there are about 6 types of souls. You have your 4 natural souls, witches, reapers, humans, and monsters. Witches are people who can use themed magic. Reapers are death. There's a lot of interesting properties to them that we might get into at some point, but probably not. Humans are humans, and monsters encompass a lot of things. In the series, we see vampires and werewolves, and we hear hints of other creatures, including manifestations of madness, which actually I don't think have souls, but it gets complicated at the end there. The other 2 kinds of souls are created souls. One was created by the witch Arachne 800 years ago in the canon of Soul Eater. These are known as weapons. Their nature is passed down genetically, and these are people who can turn into different kinds of weapons, from guns to various kinds of swords, scythes. There's magic weapons, which can turn to multiple things, gauntlets, lanterns, whole wide breadth of different things that have different traits. And then you have Kishin, which are self-created. When someone consumes other souls, it taints their soul and they start to become a Kishin. If they reach a certain point, they become a full-fledged Kishin, which we've only seen one of, and that is Ashura. And we don't really fully understand the nature of Kishin, but they're very powerful and very dangerous. Moving on, one of the main concepts in Soul Eater is resonance. This is something that 2 souls can do if they have compatible wavelengths. They're able to, resonate their souls to the same frequency, and it increases their power. This can be done even across groups of people for even larger impact. And it greatly increases the abilities that a soul can do. This is why, one of the reasons why in the series, humans and weapons, sometimes even witches are weapons, or I think, there's even cases such as Krona, who are witch. Well, no.
You mean Krona or Krona the character?
Krona. I was confused for a second because I was going to say Krona was a weapon, but no, they just have a weapon inside them. My bad.
Yeah, it has a little dude with the X's on the eyes.
Yeah. That's a complicated thing as well. Where was I? Soul resonance, yes. Another important concept in this series is the death science. This is a term for a weapon who has consumed 100 Kishin egg souls, which are partial Kishin souls that have fully become a Kishin, as well as 1 witch soul. This allows them to integrate the magic of the witch's soul into themselves and gives them much greater power, more flexibility in their nature, etc. And there's a lot of other depths to the series, but I think those are the main ones we should go over for now. And I bring those up because this is actually an AU I've given a name for. I would call this Kimetsu no Yaiba dominance frequency. And that's with the idea of soul resonance. If you want to go along those similar terms, for two things to resonate, they have to be at the same frequency. And that gave me the idea of what if every soul has a specific frequency and some give them special powers. I felt this was a good way to bring in some of those plot from Kimetsu no Yaiba, because Muzan is seen in a way as a corrupter. Certain characters, specifically Hakuji and Nezuko, I feel are the two greatest examples, are people who are good people, but they have Muzan's influence. And I feel like that's best expressed through this dominance frequency, which will be a trait of Muzan's soul. It allows him to corrupt and dominate another person's soul by resonating with them. And this effect cascades. Someone infected with his dominance frequency can spread it to another person. And that's kind of one of the big plot points of this story. And I also thought of some other frequencies, such as the null frequency, which I'll get into more detail of who will have certain frequencies later, and we can come up with more. But I was going to say the null frequency kind of just breaks resonance. You can't really resonate with this person because their soul just naturally shuts down all resonance. And then the other one I thought of was the radiant frequency, which is essentially just increased soul projection. So this is kind of a lesser concept, more associated with Ki, that you see a lot in Soul Eater, but it's not well discussed, where people can actually project their soul outwards. One of the characters, Black Star, often uses it in like a Omenis, I believe it's called. Yeah. But other characters such as Stein actually can do what's called soul sutures, where he can condense his soul into a thread and use it to connect things. It's really crazy, some of the stuff they do in this series. But that's most of what I wanted to get off my plate to start. Does anyone have anything to say?
Let's say they're not a mechanic.
We're not gonna do a Soul Eater not part for this, right?
I'm gonna say no for two reasons. One, Soul Eater not is still part of the Soul Eater universe. That's kind of like saying, are we going to do a Bleach part of this and then a 1,000-Year Blood War part of this, or as we did previously, an Avatar part of this and a Korra part of this?
Well, first of all, TYBW is fundamental to Bleach's universe itself, and I feel like Soul Eater not is like, it's still part of the universe, but is it really?
I can understand where you're coming from. It definitely tells a more personal story that focuses less on the big events and a lot of the mechanics, and just kind of it's like a lighter story, like a slice of life.
Yeah, like that's what I feel too. Like I don't know what the author was thinking when they were like, "Hey, let's do this moe manga now." Yeah. So that's good. Personally, not the biggest fan of Soul Eater not.
I can respect that.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if we can exclude that if we want to.
Well, like I said, there's not really much there to bring up. All the mechanics are still in Soul Eater, so
besides,
if we're
Kubo went on for better and bigger things with Fire Force, so we can assume that we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, talking about Fire Force, aren't they in the same universe? Because Spirit made a cameo in Fire Force.
Well, we can talk about this here because this is a big discussion I've already started in other places.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll shut up.
I have comments on that, but the thing is, we should probably focus on building up the Soul Eater KNY universe before we get into it, because technically, Soul Eater relating to Fire Force is a concept we'd have to discuss in more depth before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. All right. Sorry.
Two of the best people I think to start talking about are Kaguya and Muzan. They're two critical figures to events because they're essentially the leaders of the two big factions. If we want this to mirror Soul Eater, it's very easy to say Kaguya is death, Muzan is a full-fledged Kishin, similar to Ashura. Do you guys still want to go with that? And if we do, are we going to say that Muzan is related to Kaguya? Is he also a Reaper? Because spoiler alert, Ashura is actually confirmed, I believe, to be the son of.
He is.
Yeah, of death.
Spoiler alert, because this is Soul Eater, and the fact is what we consider the character of death, if you will, can be killed. So there is death can be killed mentality here.
Indeed.
Which is weird, to be honest, because that means death was alive, but death is the opposite of life. And then, it just goes into a spiral from there that never ends.
Well, also, death has a soul, as I mentioned
but if death
earlier.
reaps
So
souls
he's
too.
still.
So yeah. It depends. So it's a paradoxical nature.
But this death is a little different than the Grim Reaper we know of.
Yeah, he is cool.
He is technically alive. Let's put it that way.
He is much more akin to the Shinigami of Bleach.
Yeah, exactly. Because Shinigami can still die.
Pretty much. Just making that clear in case people get a bit confused. Because normally you wouldn't think that death can be killed, because death is death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just making that known.
Just to elaborate, because I kind of skipped over it earlier, to talk more about the concepts that go into a Reaper, we do know multiple can exist at a time. In the events of Soul Eater, there were 3, Death and his 2 children, that we know of. We don't know exactly how they breathe. There's never really a mention of a mother for either of them, but I have seen speculation that it's kind of like, if you guys ever watched Red versus Blue, when they split AI, they kind of break off emotions or parts of them into different entities. And I think there's some speculation that that's what created.
So it's like 9, the animated
Death
movie.
Kid. Yeah. Because the theories I've seen are that because Death the Kid and Asher both strongly represent 2 kinds of magic that are traits we don't really ever see in Death himself. They argue that he split off those 2 kinds of madness to make himself a better leader. Ashura is splitting off his fear, and Death the Kid his madness of order.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also at the end of the Soul Eater manga, Death does die because Death the Kid has these 3 lines of Sanzu, which allow him to fully realize himself as a Shinigami.
Yeah.
And when he does that, Death passes away. We don't fully know the mechanics behind this, and we don't know if doing this would have. I don't think it. No, because Ashura was alive when he connected the 3 lines. So, it's really there's a lot of unanswered questions with that. But I'll leave it there for now.
Honestly, I think we should try getting to focusing on one concept, if you will, because if from the way that Soul Eater is built up lore-wise, we could be here forever just talking about the different implications, especially if we apply it to K and Y. So if we're setting them out for the most part.
If we go too deep, yeah. I just wanted to,
let's not
get
go
some of
too deep, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying not to do.
Well, you kind of started doing that. I was like, should I stop? I'm like, should I stop him or should I just let him go? And I'm like, you know what? I'll just let him go until he stops.
I'm trying to meter myself. How much information do people really need on Soul Eater?
A lot, unless you focus on one concept.
Yeah. Anyway, so do we want to establish a relationship between Kaguya and Muzan?
Make them brothers.
Indeed, make them brothers.
Easiest thing. Cain and Abel, it's been the oldest trope since
No, it's not. Cain and Abel hasn't been the oldest trope in history. That's
yeah, but
that's Bible talk.
It's been hella old though.
Anything to do with family and killing for power is old. Technically, the patricide was technically patricide, matricide, parental side, whatever that one is called, is one of the first sins.
Yeah.
So here's a thought for you guys. Kaguya and Muzan are brothers. Maybe Kaguya is the younger brother. Muzan eventually kind of just went overboard because he blamed Kaguya for the death of their father.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This made Muzan, especially if he's the older brother, very resentful, and he went to seek his own power so that he could compete with his brother because he could never fully complete his lines.
Oh, fuck. Yes.
Yeah. So we could go with that for their basis, and that's what led Muzan to become the Kishin and learn about his, dominance frequency. Do you think we should give any special abilities to Kaguya? Should he have a dominance frequency, maybe a null frequency? Based on his personality, do you feel like there's any special abilities his soul should naturally impart?
Well, we see in canon he has a calming voice. So if it's calming, and it's both inspirational and calming at the same time.
Persuasion 100.
It's persuasion. So persuasion in both directions. So what would we think that would classify itself as?
So let's say he can, especially because when we see,
because you could argue it's a soul or a null frequency depending on the angle you want to deal with it.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, Death in Soul Eater canon, his soul was so large it could encompass an entire city. So if he could not necessarily resonate with everyone there, but express his soul to everyone there, we could say that Kaguya has a similar depth to his soul, and it has a frequency that is
like, we could say that it is a soul frequency, but in terms of the spectrum, it is much closer to a null frequency than a lot of others.
I don't want to go with a full null though, like a calming or like
but it's inspirational, so it's not necessarily. So it depends, how you want to spin it. So, in theory, you could say he's nullifying fears or passions and nervousness, if you will.
What about calling it
then building it up,
frequency?
you're nullifying your anxiety or something. So and then
conversely, Muzan has the opposite effect.
It's by fear, though.
Yeah.
Mostly. So it's break.
Yeah.
Well, I would say like an opposite or mirrored effect.
I would say Muzan breaks it down. He's closer to breaking it down, and Kaguya is more building up. But we could say what appears to be breaking down fear is more like building up courage, if you will. If that makes any sense. So if that's anything.
So do we want to call it a liberation frequency, where he kind of is able to empower other people's souls? Not something he can use on himself, but can kind of release the latent potential of others, maybe?
Probably. That's probably a better thing. And then Muzan is functionally, it does the same thing, but it's a warped way, if anything, because he's kind of technically changing the frequency by doing the blood transformation in canon.
Now, I do want to say I don't expect everyone to have, a special soul frequency, but these two I felt needed it.
What if, here's the thing, if Kaguya is a soul frequency which helps others, it empowers others, whereas Muzan's more or less kind of clones it, it kind of warps it to resemble his own in a sense, because when you become a demon, your personality becomes closer to him as a side effect, unless you're somebody like Kokushibo, if anything.
Yeah. Next thought I want to have is, if Kaguya is in death, he has a lot of kids. What do you guys say about aging Kiria up so that he's, a teenager? Or if you want, you can put another sibling. Well, and then we place him in the world as a kid.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily say he has to be aged up in terms of appearance, rather than just specific age. I mean,
it's just a very short 16-year-old.
He's a very short 1,600-year-old, and he only ages a year every 100 years. That's what it is.
Yeah, so he's like,
Do it.
he's the walking and talking definition of, oh, don't worry, officer, she's 400 years old,
Oh
Yeah.
my.
despite looking 6.
I only mentioned 8 just so he can fit in better with a lot of the other characters who have a range of like 12 to 21, but mostly like closer to 16 to 21.
Like
Yeah.
Kyria can just say, "I've been here for 400 years," and like, that long? Have you failed that many times? Like, no, it's just because I don't exactly age except every 100 years. 1 year for you is 100 years for me. That's what he'll say. His response.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Exactly.
just a midget, like. But he's
Now,
super.
if we're going,
What if he's like a midget but super powerful? So like when like the bad guys are
he is he is a dad.
yeah. So they're like, "Hey there, little boy, haha, what are you gonna do?" And he just beats them up.
Now, next question. I want to have like a near end of series moment where Kiryu completes his lines of Sanzu right as Muzan is confronting Kaguya, and Kaguya is like, "Welcome to my trap. I'm not death anymore. Bye." Just eats himself out.
Yes.
Obviously a little different. But.
Yeah, are we gonna get him a like mature form like a lot of anime characters have, like Hitsugoya and Gon both
I'm gonna
have?
say no because we don't really see that with Death the Kid, so I don't see why we would see it with Kiryu.
Okay.
Although there does seem to be some level of transformation ability available to Reapers, so it's. Next question about Kiryu. Do we want him to have dedicated weapons, maybe using his siblings, or just, be
Oh yes. Okay.
one it solo?
I feel like yes, so he could probably use Kanata and Kuina as weapons, so I think that would be a good idea. But what kind of weapons? I don't know.
They're associated with crows, so we could go with something like, maybe they're magical weapons, kind of like Tsubaki.
They could be like
Yeah.
projectile weapons. So like Kiria gets like they turn into like 2 daggers attached with like a string or a chain, and they're shaped like crow heads. So he can
Or
whip
even,
them around.
like crow-shaped shuriken, like straight throw shuriken.
Oh yeah.
Like dart around. And then like when they soul resonate, they can like expand out into almost like what are those 3-pronged size?
You mean Michelangelo's weapons?
Yeah, size.
Oh yeah, those things. Yeah. And they
sights or sides, whichever.
Size. SAIS.
Oh yeah, cause like you could like the wings can become the side prongs and the tails can become the center prong, like that kind of design.
Yeah.
That would be so cool, honestly. And like, yeah, so Kuina would be like the tough one. She's like, "Let's fight," and Kanata would be like, she was like, "Ah."
My next question to you guys: what kind of plot do we want to follow? Something more similar to Kimetsu no Yaiba, or something more similar to Soul Eater? Do we want them to be, our 2 main characters are attacked, or our 2 main characters are going to school?
I think that we could probably kind of combine a bit and make it so like part of the plot is generally following a parts of Kimetsu no Yaiba initially, but it slowly devolves into the more philosophical and complex ideas of Soul Eater as a point. I mean, I'm just partial to the fact that as a manga, KNY seems a bit, as a shonen, is kind of straightforward rather than trying to explore a bit more of the philosophical implications of the system it created.
Well, Okay, so my opinion is, why do we have to compromise? Why can't we both kill the family and then send them to school?
Oh no, that was
Yeah.
part of the idea. Like their family is dead, and then they go to school to learn how to do something. Like I mean, it doesn't like instead of
Yeah.
like we could say like the Urokodaki training is that Urokodaki is like the teacher or mentor, if you will, at the school for them specifically.
Yep.
So, do we want to say something along the lines of Tanjiro was a death scythe, and Kie was her name, right? Was his master? And one day they go out on a mission and are killed. You know,
Okay.
we the entire family, or just Tanjiro and Nezuko, go to live with their uncle Orokodaki in wherever we want Death City to be, Tokyo maybe.
No,
I honestly
mean,
thought
we could keep it in
take
Arizona.
I thought we were thinking we could take the idea of that Tanjiro. We could keep that idea, but make it so like Kie is like rather Kie survives, but Tanjiro is killed, and while Kie is trying to make her way back to her family, Muzan or whoever kills Tanjiro follows them, and then they end up massacring the family there anyway. If we could do something like that. Like that, to make it more Kimetsu no Yaiba.
Or if you guys want to make it really dark, we could have it that Tanjiro gets killed, and Tanjiro maybe has a no frequency kind of like I want Nezuko to have. So when he dies, the dominance frequency is able to be used on Kie, who, because she's now dominated, goes back to kill her family, but Nezuko is able to resonate with her enough to block out the frequency. But like maybe she's wounded or something and ends up dying too. So it's just Tanjiro and Nezuko are the only ones left. And like as Kie's dying, she tells them about their uncle Orokudaki.
So we're gonna go the Shinazugawa route. Okay.
I mean, that sounds good to an essence, but I feel like saying it's Uncle Urokodaki, is a little bit pushing it there.
Well, heavy quotation marks.
Like, I think Uncle is a common honorific used in like.
No, but yeah. I would think that they would do Saburo if anything instead of Urokodaki.
Who?
Like you remember
Saburo, the old man who took Tanjiro in the first episode. Did you forget him?
Right.
Don't forget him.
His name.
Don't forget my Chad Saburo.
Come on,
He's
man.
the only Tanjiro is still alive.
Yeah. He's the reason why we didn't get two demons trying to join the Slayers. But I was thinking they would do Saburo, and then Saburo, because he has history with the Demon Slayers, would refer them to somebody. Like, but I would think they would go to Saburo first, if anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, it would make it a bit smoother. But personally, I think we should keep Saburo in because we kind of neglect him a lot in our other discussions, and I'm like, I feel bad.
Yeah,
for him,
Saburo deserves better.
Yeah, he deserves better than what we've given him.
So then we could just say that he lives in wherever like that Death City is.
Yeah,
Arizona.
That works.
And Urokodaki could be one of the teachers
at Nevada.
Oh wait, it's in Nevada?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's probably in Death Valley.
Death Valley, Nevada, not Death Valley. No, there's no Death Valley in Arizona. Come on.
Oh, it's in Nevada. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna just to see now.
No, it is. It is.
They have to move to Nevada. Yeet.
And then afterwards is where, because Saburo is there, we could say
it's confirmed in Nevada.
Death City,
Nevada. Out of all the states to choose,
I'm going to assume it's Death Valley, Nevada.
Yeah, it has Death Valley. I mean, come on.
I mean, yeah, but like, okay, fine, I guess.
I mean, it's better than putting it in, let's say, above the Empire State Building like they did in Percy Jackson. Because, like, who goes into Death Valley?
What?
I mean, Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus above.
They put it where? Why would they do that? First of all,
Mount Olympus is above the Empire State Building in Percy Jackson. Did you really not know that?
I don't read the Percy Jackson book. I learned my mythology from actual Greek mythology texts. Okay.
Well, I read it, and then I read the actual mythology.
We're a little diverted right now. Let's just say they put it over the Empire State Building because the Burj Khalifa wasn't built yet. Back to Soul Eater.
I suppose so. We can ask reordering that, but hey.
Okay, Soul Eater. So we want them to go to Nevada. Okay.
Yeah, Tanjiro and Nezuko in Nevada. Maybe they've, they probably know the weapons if their father was a death scythe. I'm gonna say they're probably both the same weapon, a black katana. Maybe Nezuko looks a little different, but Tanjiro's probably just, the classic black katana he uses in KMY.
Or black scythe, whichever one.
Yeah, I think a katana could work too, because, isn't Tsubaki's brother a katana too?
What if we made it a Nodachi instead of just a katana? Because it's like a long death scythe, if anything.
But Tanjiro would be too short to wield that.
You think that the people who wielded actual Nodachis were tall? They were very short back in the day.
Oh, really? Oh, because, yes.
Bro, Nobunaga was 5'7" and he was tall. So there's no way that they were taller than that before that time.
Why would you, I'm just curious, Brad, genuine question. Do you think either Tanjiro or Nezuko would be a Nodachi, and why?
Okay, so does everybody know what a Nodachi is, Reverend?
Yes, it's what Kakashi uses.
Well, no, but do you know the difference between a Nodachi or Odachi compared to a katana?
It's curved and big.
Yeah, so it's
Specifically, I think the length is above 3 shaku.
It's about 36 about close to 36 inches in terms of the blade length. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense? Okay, so the reason I would say we could use a Nodachi is mainly, well, let's put it, how do I put this? What is the way I'm trying to refer to this as? Well, if we're normally in the canon, we see sights being used, right?
Well, only 2 people are sides.
No. But if anything, in terms of the main character portions of it, right?
Well, yes.
Well, the reason I say that is because as far as a Nodachi is concerned, it gives it more reach, first of all, which we can kind of see in the canon with the scythe more or less, as opposed to regular katana more, if anything. And because it's also in terms of length, the Nodachi can, if you want to say we could just have the katana be an extending power, the handle would still relatively be the same for the most part. And furthermore, when you look at Nodachi historically, they tend to have what's it called? No, this is a bit crude in the way I'm going to explain it, but they have a bit of a more history with Shinigami, relatively speaking, because of at least ancient stories for them anyway.
Okay, that's fair.
I will say though, if we do say that Tanjiro turns into a Nodachi, Nezuko would be wielding that. And if we're saying Tanjiro turns into a Nodachi because he's the bigger older brother, maybe Nezuko turns into a Wakizashi or something because she's the smaller younger sister.
That
just
could work.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because that in terms of relative sword lengths, you technically see the Wakizashi and Nodachi as a pair, at least back early in the days for the most part.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. They're also a pair, so
yes,
perfect.
I think we said Urokodaki would be one of the teachers. I feel like the best people to be teaching would be Urokodaki, Toru, Shinjiro, most of those retired people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jigoro.
There's the pillars would be your meisters and weapons.
TAs.
Yeah.
Some of them might be.
We could say God. Imagine
I was just gonna say, if we're going to have TAs and stuff, we could have Sabi. We could have the whole idea Sabito being the death weapon for Giyu, if anything.
Okay, fair.
Well, actually, one idea I like having is that Sabito and Makomo are both Gyu's weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of Gyu being a dual wielder, and maybe they can be like dragon bangs or something like that. Like long, curved daggers with like sharp edges.
Oh, okay.
Or scimitars. Those would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always
Or like
associate the water trio with dragons because
river dragons,
water.
yes.
Exactly.
Also like or those Southeast Asian like daggers could also work. I don't know what
You
they're
mean
called.
Wait, do you mean the one that Obanai has, which is like closer to the Indonesian
No,
one?
no, not that. Like, no, not a sword. Yeah, maybe a Chris, but like a short Chris.
Oh, you mean a Chris? Okay, so you
Like
okay.
short Chris's with
alright.
dragon heads.
Alright.
Like, hold on. Let me search it up.
No, Chris or Karis?
Chris? I think that's what it's called.
I've heard of them called that, yeah. While you look that up, one of the classic pairs we meet early on is Inosuke and Zenitsu. Yep. I think they actually make a really good weapon meister pair. I would put Inosuke as the meister and Zenitsu as the weapon. I feel like he should be something slender and quick, like a rapier, or maybe some other kind of weapon if you guys like.
Maybe he can just be his
make
like cannon
make him one of
sword.
those gun swords, if anything. The one that has like a crystal handle that you can use. Like, you ever seen? Have you ever seen those like on if anything? Because I feel like that brought some confusion.
I was like, I have, yes.
Like from Ruby?
No, I mean like legitimate actual gun swords that were used back in the day. They had the handle
Oh yeah,
itself
I've
was a
seen
gun.
those.
What the fuck is this? Oh, you mean...
that's a really cool looking dagger.
Isn't that just a glorified bayonet?
No.
I think the one you're seeing is the one that I'm not. Not the one I have in mind.
But I feel
it's
like
the one that I have in mind.
I feel like a gun sword could work because I was initially imagining, Zenitsu someone who one of his sole resonant abilities is the ability to channel lightning. So, when they're resonating, he could just that would be his range. But if he was also, part gun, he could just shoot his soul out like lightning much more easily. And that would give, Inosuke a really good, 3-range ability, long range with the gun, mid range with the blade, and then close range with his martial arts abilities.
Oh,
okay.
I was thinking.
Yeah, go on.
He could be. I don't know. Like, I feel like a gunblade would be good, but also maybe like a jagged serrated weapon.
A serrated weapon. You mean like a combat knife?
Yeah, like like a combat knife. Because like there's.
You know how Zenitsu kind of has his two sides? Mm-hmm. What if he has two weapon forms based on which personality is expressing himself? Tired, like sleeping Zenitsu, or waking Zenitsu?
Oh, okay. What if his sleeping form is like a crossbow or a longbow?
Gun sword. Gun sword.
Okay, fine, gun sword. Well, you have two
Well, I was
guns.
gonna say you could have the regular version be the gun sword, and then the sleeping version be this rough serrated blade that Inosuke usually uses.
No, that could work. But we need a gun sword for one of them. I stand by that.
Yeah.
Genya.
But no, what
Did
I was
that not occur to you?
We can talk about Genya later.
Okay.
One thought I had is sorry, I zoned out again. When Zenitsu kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Reconciles his, personalities into one person, kind of like he comes to terms with who he is. He could have his weapon forms merge into one. So it goes from this slender, quick gun sword to this badass serrated gun sword.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay, so he's a serrated gun sword. All right. Let's see. And well, okay, so we have. What do we want for some of the other Hashira, if anything?
Well, I think if we're done with the Inosuke and Zenitsu, the next people we could go to are, we mentioned Gyu, Sabito, and Makomo. Does anyone have further comments on that?
Nope, but I found some cool dragon designs, so I will drop those in the chat. With
Nice.
the
Please
Chris.
do.
So I was thinking, yeah, never mind. I'll just type everything else in the chat. You guys go ahead.
Okay. Next up, I would say is the Butterfly House. I think Kane, Shinobu, Aoi, and Kanao. Well, maybe not Kanao would all be resident nurses, but also slayers. Weapon Meister pairs. I think Kanao would be the only actual Meister of the four of them. I imagine is like a medical weapon, kind of like a syringe or a scalpel. I picture Kanai as as like fans maybe, and then like butterfly shaped fans, and then Shinobu could be like, I don't know, like a hook blade, a whip, a rapier. Maybe she has some kind of poison ability.
I feel like she could be a rapier.
Someone seemed to like the idea of the hook blade. I'm not sure who was that.
Oh, the hook blade is also cool though. Like,
I don't know. Like I was thinking, maybe Kanae is closer to some like instead of being fans, could be something closer to like something closer to like a koto used in the manner like the Kawakami bonsai uses in Gintama. It uses strings as it is because we know that she does play good with the koto if anything.
or
the main reason I want her to be butterfly fans is going back to the dominant frequency. She's not around right now. She's the
So we're saying that she's not around at the moment as far as that, or are we saying she's been deceased?
No, she's alive. She's with Duma.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
Because she was a weapon. Maybe, before Kanao was really ready to be a Meister, her and Shinobu would work together and alternate. And at one point, maybe Duma was able to disarm Shinobu and picked up like Kanae and is like, "You're too weak for your sister. I think I deserve someone this beautiful." Resonates with her. Dominance frequency kicks in, and they squirrel away.
So and this AU Doma actually has feelings as more than like actually has emotions, I should say.
Very lecherous emotions, let's say.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Is that the right word for what I'm thinking?
No, I don't think. I don't think. I mean, what do you see it as? Because I feel like you are doing the wrong word in this case.
Like covetous. Like he likes to collect the pretty things.
Okay, not lecherous. Then it would be more. Yeah. Let's see. Not.
I always forget what that means.
No, lecherous is. Okay, I'll just. Like lecherous.
He's a perv.
Yeah, lecherous is more like more sexual in nature, not exactly like.
Well,
collection.
yeah, I kind of want to subtly suggest that. I do think it like I don't know if I want him to be like in those case father in this case as well or not, because I do love that concept. It just works really well. But I do want him to have previous relations with Kotoha, maybe before the dominance frequency kind of got to Duma. He was maybe a better person. Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, you could say that. You could say something is very collection oriented, or very, like, what's the word I'm looking for Doma? Like, he's very gloatish, if you will.
He's
Like, he collects
Gluttonous.
trophies. He collects trophies by
Yeah.
taking in those weapons, if you will.
he's like a magpie.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
He
that's why I
likes
kind of
shiny.
want. Yeah, that's why I kind of wanted Kanai to be these, like beautiful butterfly fans, because it would just look really good. Have people fighting with that.
Okay. No, that makes sense in hindsight.
Yeah. Thoughts on Aoi though? I'm really not sure what to do with her. I
She
do.
could be. What kind of medical implement can you use as a weapon? Well, you can use scalpels. Blackjack said that.
You,
I mean, it's a
you
blade,
can,
so
you can
yeah.
even use a syringe. I believe there was a syringe weapon in Kimetsu no Yaiba, but I forget. I mean, not Kimetsu no Yaiba, it was Soul Eater. My bad.
I mean, if we were trying to make it a blade, then there's limits. But if we're trying to make it a medical weapon in general, we could use it as other things.
There are a lot of non-bladed weapons.
Oh.
Soul
She
Eater.
could be a chainsaw, because you know what chainsaws were first used for?
Surgeries.
Yeah.
Or what if we made her a guillotine blade, because that was designed by a doctor?
That could.
Yeah, but how would one carry? Oh wait, you can like swing it around, right?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a guillotine more than it is the blade used for the guillotine, because it's supposed to kill people humanely, in quotes.
Okay.
So it's got
But-
it's got a
okay.
more interest. I feel like it's more interesting than the stereotypical idea of the the scalpel and the syringe, because hey, everyone forgets a guillotine was designed by a doctor as well.
Okay. She's like, I'll medically put you down.
Basically.
I do want to say I want Kanao to be one of Inosuke's weapons. He is known for dual wielding, and I think she would initially be hesitant, but he would find a way to push her into it.
I would think that. But what did you think that Aoi would be more of Inosuke's weapon then?
Yes, that's why I said.
You said
did I say someone else?
Kanao. You said Kanao. I'm like,
I don't know what's wrong with me. I meant Aoi. Because part of the idea I had is, Inosuke and Zenitsu, they work together, but they don't work together well. They can resonate because they can both, just focus on the fight and work together. They do have similar ideas at times, but
At times.
Zenitsu is just so much more of, a coward and a pacifist than Inosuke, who's, this violent aggressor. But Inosuke, when he resonates, he tends to, push harder on the other person's soul. He tends to pull the weight. That's how he's comfortable with, kind of like Black Star was.
So Aoi would be better.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
doesn't have
Aoi in
timidity
canon
that-
seems to tolerate Zenitsu a bit more than a lot of other people, so it could work along those lines. And let's not forget that Inosuke in canon uses serrated weapons as dual wielding, so he likes rough and weapons with rough connotations. And a guillotine was quite rough as a weapon itself. In terms of what it was able to do, because most of the time it didn't actually kill the victim in one strike to the head.
Yeah.
So it's very
and
rough.
Like some people blinked after they were decapitated. So like there's that too.
Basically.
And I also do want to say there are weapons who fight without Meisters, and there are Meisters who don't actively use their weapons. Stein, he could fight a lot of the time while resonating without actually using the weapon. People like Kiriko and Justin Law, both of them never had a Meister. They only fought as weapons themselves. So there is a lot of flexibility in how you can do things. And I do feel like Inosuke would mostly want a partner for resonance because of the power boost, but he doesn't necessarily aggressively use someone in battle. So Aoi could be, a backseat in a lot of this, where she's support, but she's not actively fighting. But she also could be used in fighting. Yeah, just saying.
Yeah, I'd imagine him going like, I don't know. They'd probably be yelling at each other a lot.
Just
but that's all we work
beating
well.
someone's ass and they stop for a minute to argue.
Yeah, like, hey, you're cutting
him
him too clean. I want to cut him messier. Well, I'm sorry, Inosuke. I can't help being a fucking guillotine.
I'm sorry, I'm a medical professional. If you don't want to hit the carotid artery, then don't aim me at the fucking carotid artery. I'm sorry, Inosuke. I'm doing my fucking job here.
Inosuke, you could have gone for his jugular vein and ended the fight, but you fucking didn't. I can't believe this. Inosuke's like, well, I don't have a medical education.
But yeah, I definitely think, Inosuke and Zenitsu will be together for a while. They'll have a falling out. That's when Inosuke will kind of like drag Aoi in. They would have built up a relationship for a little bit here, and like she's kind of like, okay, if I don't do this, this idiot will probably die. So I'm willing to, work with him to fit his needs. And then after working with her for a while, maybe Zenitsu comes back in and is like, okay, I need him and he needs me. We fight, but there's respect there. And having the two of them working together with Inosuke, it kind of creates this like more even playing field where the two of them can finally get through to him, because it's not just 1v1, it's 2v1. And that helps Inosuke kind of grow into himself, because he learns to respect the people around him more because he's forced to.
Yeah, okay, that's
all right.
I just think that's a really good arc.
Well, we got our first character arc. Nice.
Because you do scratchers all day.
Next, you guys want to talk about the Shinjuku Hours?
Business. Things are too hot here for you now.
You
need
know
to go
I'm
to Italy
always
for
down.
5 years.
All right.
Genya could, first of all, like, are we gonna make Sanemi a gunblade? We can make Sanemi a gunblade and have Genya wield him.
Sanemi?
One
You went from
interesting-
Sanemi to Sanemi.
I
one
switch.
interesting is I kind of want both of them to be weapons that don't tend to Meister, because they only really resonate with each other, because Genya is very introverted in a way, so he struggles to connect with people, and Sanemi is pushing people away. So they could resonate with some people, but they tend not to. The only people they really resonate well with is each other, but Sanemi refuses to resonate.
But is that dependent
Genya's
on
gonna
the
hurt.
backstory, though? I mean, the backstory itself is being kept the same here, because their personalities were different when their mother and stuff was alive, remember?
Yeah.
So are we still saying that they have the same
these are fine.
backstory? Because it
What
depends
do you
on the
guys think?
personality. It depends on the personality for a lot of these characters. Because, like, here's the thing: if we do the idea that Shinobu and Kanai joined as opposed to being taken in canon because their parents were killed, then Shinobu would be more of a tomboy as opposed to what we see in normal canon, and because Kanai is still alive, more or less, at least until Kanai is taken away. So it will depend to an extent if we're going to make Genya and Sanemi not. Because here's the thing: if we make them more like there's less tragedy in their lives, then there could probably be the pair that some people would want.
I mean, we saw it in Kimegaku, Sanemi's still like. I mean, we saw in Kimegaku that even though Sanemi's like not like he's not insane, he's still very aggro. I feel like he just has a very aggro personality once he like became a teen, not a teen, just a grown ass man. And Genya's like he's just shy. He's just awkward. But like Sanemi's a lot less like insane than like in canon than in Kimegaku, to be fair. So we could still have Sanemi be kind of this dude who's like angry and standoffish, but like not to the extent that he's in the canon. He's just your typical cranky dude.
Yeah, but would that mean Genya is allowed? Is he pushing away Genya that much? Because if he isn't, I feel like that he wouldn't be pushing Genya away as much as we see in canon. If he's not necessarily that way.
I feel like one thing that would kind of push it to that point is if we have Sanemi and Kanae have a strong relationship and then losing Kanae, he would be more protective of Genya.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, I can see that. Like, we could have a thing where, if we could say that Sanemi and Genya did work together initially, but then as a result of Kanae being lost, Sanemi started pushing Genya away, which is what led to the current situation. But it wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
Amazing character development.
And I will say for weapons, I think Genya should be a shotgun. Just fifth. You know, he could just
should be a
you
Glock.
He's not just any shotgun. He's a rapid pump fire shotgun, like in Fortnite. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen them.
I like that.
Oh, what if he's a Glock? Because, like, so many Glock memes about Genya.
Either he's a pump shotgun or he's a Gatling gun, machine gun, whichever one.
Well, I imagine when he's being a weapon himself, he kind of either changes his fingers or his whole arms into barrels and just kind of like goes to town on people.
Light him up.
But yeah, when he properly weapons, he kind of, I feel like a pump shotgun would be more effective. A Glock would be nice, but I feel like would have the power behind it. Kind of just
Okay, fine.
Yeah, okay. Pump shotgun would probably be better. And he has a rapid fire motion, although that's taxing to an extent.
Yeah.
Now, for Sanemi, one thing I've seen him associated with because of his mark is a pinwheel, which kind of inspired me to an interesting thought. When we look at Nico, who's a chainsaw, we see, circular motions associated weapons can be really good for people who are, single weapon users. They don't have a Meister. So what if Sanemi was something like a yo-yo?
Oh, so he's like a deadly spin yo-yo.
I was
of
thinking
death
he could be a chakram. Because chakrams have to be...
A chakram could be really good too.
Yeah, he rides through the wind.
Yeah, but imagine Sanemi turns into like this yo-yo like weapon that's like a pinwheel, but it's like a blade like a shuriken. So it's a shuriken attached to a yo-yo like string, and then the user just swings it around, and it's a huge shuriken too. So it's like this huge blade that like spins through the air, and like you can use
that
it
could be a
to
secondary
slice
function, but he would have more mobility as the wind Hashira, kind of harking back to that, if anything. If he could separate from the chain or string, if you will, just act like a normal chakram or shuriken, if you're thinking.
Yeah. I think we're all thinking along similar lines. What I picture him doing a lot is, he could turn parts of his body into any moment into, this circular yo-yo, chakram, shuriken, whatever, that's connected to the rest of his body by a string, and he can whip that around. Or he can spawn the blades and the strings of the yo-yo around his body, kind of like Kiriko was known for doing in Soul Eater, and kind of just start fucking speeding along, tearing through things with these blades whipping around him like a chainsaw.
He can throw them.
Like, he is the chainsaw.
He could throw them, like separate them from being the string, and then eventually, after a time, he could recall them back to them, if anything.
I don't know about that because they have to be connected to himself. We never really see a weapon able to disconnect the weapon from themselves.
Yeah, even Tsubaki has turned into a shuriken.
Unless it ricochets off somewhere.
What? You're not safe here anymore, so I'm going to send you where all the murderers are from.
Like ripping your arm off in a way. Like if it's still connected, it's still connected. But if you kind of just throw the blade that is you, it's not the same. Because like when we see people using things like guns or even the lantern, which produces fire, they're projecting their soul. They're not projecting a piece of themselves. When we see, people like Kiriko or Justin Law, when they create weapons from themselves, they're always attached to themselves. There was an expression of themselves. The weapons never really separate.
Yeah, there was no name on it. It was just sitting there.
Okay.
Is there a problem? No.
Yeah.
No problem.
Like, it's a really cool thought. I'm completely with you there, Rad. It just doesn't kind of work.
I mean, I understand, but I think it depends on where we are. But if anything, there should be a function where he can disconnect or at least throw certain things as part of it. Like, I mean, it could be like he can only do a yo-yo motion or chainsaw motion, if you will, the things attached to a certain degree. But if he needs to, he can detach part, like the chakram from the thing, to physically throw it. But the downside is it's stuck there for a while, if anything, unless it ricochets back to him.
I guess that's an acceptable kind of like.
Anyhow, it should be shaped like a pinwheel.
Yeah.
Yes.
I imagine coming off would be kind of like a pinwheel. Like it could be like
a bunch of shapes, really. It doesn't have to necessarily just be a pinwheel.
Yeah, but a pinwheel is the best because that's the iconic Sanemi shape.
Yeah, and like what I imagine
is, don't make it too much looking like a swastika. That's all that matters.
Well, no, I imagine that the pinwheel is expressed through the blade, so you have those sharp, like large triangular shapes of a pinwheel.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the edges as the blades.
Oh, are we talking triangle?
Blade.
Are we doing like windmill style blades, or are we doing
No, a pinwheel. Have you ever seen a pinwheel before?
Yes, but if you have 4 of them, it looks closer to a swastika more than anything because of the way they curve. It depends. Like, no, if you look at it, it depends on the curve.
I think people can like tell a pinwheel from a swastika.
No, like, what if Sanemi could do something where he doesn't necessarily? It's not restricted. No, I think he shouldn't be restricted in terms of what he's making in terms of the shape of said pinwheel or the shapes of the chakra.
I see what you're talking about.
No, because here's the thing: he could do the pinwheel, but he could also do like the normal chakram. Like he could do serrated portions on a chakram, something like that. Like give him more versatility that way, because that's what wind is about: unexpected and versatility, if you will.
All I'm saying is like every blade, every big blade piece along the length of it and the shape of it falls into that pinwheel pattern. So if you took one edge off of that pinwheel, that's one blade on the chakram, yo-yo, whatever.
Hold on, let me draw this actually. This will be so fun.
Does that make sense to you?
I mean, I think it makes sense to you, but imagining it seems a little bit convoluted. Because I can't see it the way you're picturing it, to be quite honest.
So, like, take those little pieces off and have like 1,000,000 of them, and you just place them along the length of the circle.
Well, I mean, just because it's a spike doesn't necessarily need to be a chainsaw. I mean, like, back in the day, chainsaws had the regular sharp, like, teeth spikes, if you will. And nowadays, they don't really have those at all. They have things that look more like wood grubs that burn through them. At least in a lot of the modern ones, especially when you're trying to cut wood. Yeah. So that's what I mean by, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be
so that we can express his windmill aesthetic, you know, his pinwheel aesthetic, we put that as the blades. Does that make sense?
Well, I get it. The only thing is that there would have to be a form where there is none, because when you have, like, the chakrams that they used in actual history, which were good at slicing through things, they were more closer to, like, European swords. They didn't exactly have those sharp, jagged edges. They were more like a continuous thing, if you will.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know. This is kind of just like, you know, it's not always going to look like that. You know, the base form can, you know, be like a chakram yo-yo, but when he does express the blades, that's what the blades look like.
Hold on, dudes. I'm drawing like this right now because, like.
Oh no! What has the pinwheel conversation done? Oh no!
It looks so cool, though. Look, okay, but if you're gonna fight with a giant yo-yo, that's already unexpected. No one's expecting you to pull out a fucking yo-yo, except if you're in Miraculous Ladybug.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the same time, though, you can't exactly.
Or your entire blade.
No, but then again, a yo-yo is unexpected, yes. But if in canon, like, we didn't exactly just see Sanemi using one blade. He did have that maneuver where he used Genya's blade to try and smash through Koshiko's head. So you could kind of put that in perspective by saying that you can vary the chakrams, like piercing it. Like, some of them could be used to shred. Others could be used to pierce. Others could be used to slice, depending on how you do it.
And he can also, turn multiple parts of his body into the yo-yo chakram at the same time. So, he can fling out one arm to, say, wrap around a tree branch and help him move.
And yeah, that would be so cool.
Another one around. It goes around a tree, goes around and hits you from the back. So, he has a lot of flexibility in manipulating the strings and the weapons at the ends of them, etc.
Yes, that's
so basically
so
Sanemi
cool.
has become Min from ARMS, essentially. That's interesting to know.
Kind of.
Oh my god, I can't wait to show you guys this. I'll post it in the chat.
Alright. We're waiting to see the big reveal.
I'm kind of scared.
Oh no.
Wait, okay, this will take some time. Go on without.
We'll go on without you. Don't worry. Well, you have a life.
While we wait on this, of the characters we've discussed so far, do you think any of them would have special frequencies?
Well, I mean, we could give them special frequencies depending on when we're on their pairings, if you will. Like you could say relationships, if you will, or connections with others kind of changes the frequency to a certain extent, if you will. Because we saw if
I would say in general that would be true for most people, but those who have a special frequency would their soul doesn't really change because it has that special frequency, if that makes sense.
Oh no, but I mean in terms of the core, yes. But then again, as a sound radiates outward in actual real life, it encounters obstacles and sometimes it can encounter filters, if you will, which changes it. So we could do something like that, if you know what I mean. Not necessarily change the entire soul.
That's more akin to the sense of the idea of resonance itself, which is just the frequency of something so that it can resonate with something else.
Yeah, no, we could say that Sanemi and Kanai resonated very well, and then as a result of Kanai being taken away, Sanemi, the blowback from the resonance being lost for a time, did warp a little bit about how Sanemi was emitting it to everyone else, how everyone senses it, even though it's somewhat the same. So we could say that this, it depends between some of the Hashira. They have their own special frequency, but as they are paired with different people or they are around different people, it can slightly change and become more constructive or destructive in certain effects. If you know that, in terms of interference of physics and waves.
Yeah. But I want to talk more about, those frequencies we're developing that have special powers. We did, Snek did bring up Yorichi. I do want to say that radiant frequency I mentioned, where, is enhanced soul projection, that would be something that Tanjiro and Yorichi would share. And it's part of what makes them, more dangerous to someone like Muzan. Because, they can hit harder. One of the big things about using direct soul attacks in the series is you can't really protect against them. They really hit hard. You can use your soul to kind of resist a lot of the attacks, but you can't resist those as well. And that's kind of what made it a big deal.
All right. I see what you mean.
Yeah. But for special abilities like that, do we think anyone's specific personality, would have a big effect to create one of those special frequencies? Part of who anyone is would have that effect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Muichiro?
Huh?
Muichiro?
Well, I don't want to get into any new characters because we're already at an hour.
And I mean, we can answer this next time, if anything.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, while we're waiting on this thing, we can just go back.
No, don't wait for me. Don't wait for me.
No, it's all right.
All right, then I guess we'll just wrap it up.
Yeah, just wrap it up.
Let's do that.
Why are you guys waiting for me?
We're trying to be courteous.
We're wait for you.
Yeah, we were waiting for the big reveal, but I guess we're gonna have to do that off screen. So, to everybody watching, sorry, we'll let you know how it does next time, though, if anything. Okay, so don't worry, you'll still see.
Thanks, Nick. You blue balled the audience.
I don't. Okay, so now I'm designing it, but now I don't know how the mechanics of this is gonna work because I don't know where to attach the string. But go on, guys. Don't worry.
All right. Well, anyway.
The string would always attach to the middle, and it could be, like the string could spread out kind of like a spoke if needs to connect to the rest of it, or there could be a solid plate in the middle.
It's a yo-yo, so okay, now I know. Now I know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Snecht tries to design said concept,
it's also kind of magic, so you can kind of just wing it.
Magic.
But yes, to all of our viewers, as Snecht continues to design her concept, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Breath of Fiction, and we hope to see you again next time, all right? And don't worry, we'll make sure to share Snecht's concept when we get it, all right? Everyone good? But before we leave, does anyone else have any final things to say? Sparta?
No, I got really nothing else to say. I'm sorry I was kind of silent. I was kind of working on something else in the background while we were doing this for another video I'm doing. So
shout out, Sparta makes a lot of shitpost videos and sometimes music videos on stuff.
His pumped up kicks videos are pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Snecht, do you have anything else?
Pumped up kicks chapter of Hunter from America.
Oh no. Mm-hmm. Snecht, you got anything? Or are you just gonna focus on drawing your pinwheel?
I'll focus on drawing the pinwheel.
All right. And GCC, anything else?
Woo! We finally did Soul Eater. I was so hyped for this.
Yeah. Okay, we can do another
and my
part
last
too.
Thing, because we're gonna get a second part anyway. But as my last thing, it's about time we did this because I think this was the first or second thing we said we were gonna do a long time ago, and then we never ended up doing it.
Literally number 1 on the Google Doc. Number 2 is Bleach.
Well, DCC was so hyped for it. I'm so glad he got to do Soul Eater.
Yeah, but anyway,
and
thanks everybody for tuning in, and
we
hope to see you again. So until next time, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Adios.